All right, everyone. It's Wednesday, so let's get this thing started, shall we? If you're new to the stream, welcome. So this is what I'm going to do. First thing, we're going to switch over to the MNQ, NASDAQ Micro Futures, and we're going to look into trade, looking using the Trade Scanner Pro. Let me adjust my microphone here. Make sure you guys can hear me all right. And we're going to see if we can find any trades. Hey, Grego, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Um, we're going to see if we can find any trades. Now, I have my Bitcoin chart up here real quick. Look at this, right? I talked about if 106 broke, it would invalidate the bear flag, but look, it rejected. You see what I mean? This is what I mean about adjustments. This is what I mean about adjustments. That's a pin bar, lower high, and then we have a red candle. I'd still be looking for the double bottom or failed low over here at this point on Bitcoin. But anyway, all right, that's my quick Bitcoin update. So we're going to use the Trade Scanner Pro to find trade ideas on the 1 minute or 30-second time frame. Now, I've been looking at the candle, basically the length of the candles. Let's change this over to MNQ1. And I mean, this is a pretty slow market relative to where we came from. Meaning, not too long ago, we were doing like 100 points in a minute, something like that. And now we're doing like 15 to 20 points in a minute on these time frames. So I talked about earlier in the week, or was it Monday? I talked about using the re-entry method to help filter the Trade Scanner Pro signals, which is very important in this type of environment. But also, what I'm considering here is because the market is clearly slower, I'm thinking about maybe introducing the 15-second chart. I don't like that time frame that much, but if we're in a slow market, then it may offer some more opportunities because this market's not getting any faster right now. So, do I believe a head and shoulder pattern has formed where on Bitcoin? Because I have not seen anything like that. I'll switch back to that Bitcoin chart if that's what you're talking about. Let's switch back to Bitcoin real quick. Oh, I see what you're talking about. Shoulder over here, head. No. I mean, it's again, no. It's not clear. It's first of all, it's not clear. It should be, if you're going to see a pattern like that, it really should be crystal clear. I see what you're talking about, but don't get caught up in that. You have to pay more attention to the levels and the structure, not that, right? If it turns out to be that, then okay, but the levels and the structure will keep you out of trouble. All I see is lower high, pin bar, and that's bearish. Right? I'm not looking at the whole pattern. I'm just looking at that section. On top of that, 105 is a resistance, that 105 area, that line on the chart. So that's what I'm looking at. The thing is, I'm also looking at supports, and I'm looking at the failed low area around the 100K, 102 to 100K. If I see that, that's a swing trade long. All right. I don't care about head and shoulders nonsense because most of the time those patterns are coincidence. Okay. So it's important to understand that. Okay. Let's move back to the NASDAQ. All right. Let's switch this over MNQ1. All right. So as you know, when using the Trade Scanner Pro, by the way, if you are a yearly subscriber of the Trade Scanner Pro, you need to understand that it's a subscription. So you're going to get billed if you do not cancel it by the next year. I have people doing that, and then they send me these ridiculous excuses saying, "Oh, I forgot." There's no refunds. Okay? So this is why I really feel like just not continuing the Trade Scanner Pro for reasons like that, because people take advantage of me. Okay? And they don't pay attention to details and this and that. And it's like I ask myself, why do I do this? Why do I bother? Because I don't make money with the Trade Scanner Pro as far as selling it as a piece of software. I don't make money with it. So it's kind of a waste of time for me. So anyway, and that when that stuff starts to add up, it's like, I need to go find something else that's more productive because, I've given it a chance, and over the year, TradeScanner Pro has been available for a little over a year now, and I don't know, it's definitely a labor of love. Let's put it that way. All right. So anyway, before I get into a negative complaining rant, let's do our analysis. So the TradeScanner Pro requires um, analysis first. It's not a forecasting tool. It's a confirmation tool. So the way I like to use it, this is what I do. It's very simple. The first step is we look at the daily time frame. Now, on the daily time frame, I'm not looking for trend because remember, I know in advance that I'm going to be looking at a 30-second chart or a 1-minute chart. That is the goal. And I'm trying, by the way, I'm trying to trade an apex evaluation, and I'm trying to beat that evaluation with the TradeScanner Pro in a sustainable way. That's the whole goal of the stream, right? So you could see that over here. That's the account right here. I'm basically break even on that account. So what I like to do with the daily time frame, which is the first step, is I'm only looking for levels here. That's it. Nothing else. I want to know today's levels, and I want to know yesterday's levels. That's all I want to know. So that's yesterday's low. This is the overnight low. This is yesterday's high. This is the overnight high right here on the daily time frame. See that? That's it. My job is done on this time frame. I don't need to know anything else because I'm working on 30-second and 1-minute charts. If I was working on other time frames, perhaps I would have to look into some other things. But because I know I'm working on 30-second and 1 minute, this is all I need. Right? Now, we move over to our 1-hour chart. You could use a 1-hour, you could use a 30-minute, but what I'm looking for on the 1-hour chart, this is where I'm paying a little bit more attention to recent price structure and price action. This is what's going to help me decide what side I should be working on with the TradeScanner Pro. Hey, Slow, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for joining. So clearly, we could see on this chart, it's pretty clear. There's no argument. High or low, right? Let me get my arrow. Here's my arrow. Got a higher low right there. This is a higher high over here. This is a higher low over here. And we're attempting to make the higher high. I mean, there's a pin bar up there. So we have pushed. It is a higher high, barely, but so far, I mean, the candle is still open, right? We have 15 minutes before this candle closes. But higher lows and higher highs signify strength. So that's one clue. I should probably be working on the long side. Now, a couple other things to note here as we're doing our analysis. As you notice, doing the analysis for the TradeScanner Pro doesn't take very long. It takes maybe 2 minutes. So I do have these resistances that I drew on my chart from the daily time frame, right? We're fooling around yesterday's high right now, and our overnight high was established up here. So we are at resistances. Now, in a bullish environment, resistances are likely to break. So I should not be in a hurry to short these, but I do want to be aware that they're there because over the next, if I'm in the market over the next couple of hours, and I see something bearish happen on this hourly chart, meaning maybe we get like a pin bar up in this area, right? Something like we get like a bearish pin bar up in here, then that's going to tell me that the resistance is sticking. And I should probably be looking for shorts at that point as an aggressive way to trade, right? If the market is generally bullish, I should not be leaning on shorts. I should not be aggressively going after shorts. I should be working on the long side. But if the market begins to turn and I want to be aggressive, then that would be a good location for it. Make sense? That's very important. So the general trend kind of tells me what side I should lean on. And if I'm going to be aggressive, I should probably be doing it on the long side, not the short side. Also, keep in mind, markets change, especially on these smaller time frames. Markets change constantly. So I have to be aware of changes. Right now, this is a bullish candle. So as long as it stays bullish, and if the next candle opens, we close here and the next candle starts to do this, that's bullish, right? So I want to lean on the bullish side. If I get some other kind of look, then I need to possibly adjust. All right, so analysis is complete. I've determined that the market is generally strong. I've determined that we're near resistance area, so I need to be aware of that in case things change. But with all this information, I'm going to lean on the long side using the Trade Scanner Pro. It's that simple. Now that I've made those determinations, I'm going to change this over to the 30-second time frame because that's the time frame, that's one of the time frames I'm looking to take trades on. 30 seconds. Now I'm going to turn the Trade Scanner Pro on. Now make sure when you get the Trade Scanner Pro, and I have an impression that a lot of people who sign up for this thing don't know to do this. Even though I show it on every stream, you got to turn these things on. I actually have a video that I'm almost finished with. It's just I don't spend a lot of time with it, but I have like a brief instruction video how to set it up, how to set up the Trade Scanner Pro. So one of these days I'll publish that video, and then people will have no excuse because it's like a short video. It's like less than 10 minutes, and it explains all these little things on how to set it up. All right, but it's not published yet. So here's my 30-second chart. Over here, I'm going to switch. This should be my 1-minute chart. Okay. So 30-second and 1 minute. These are the two time frames I am looking to work on. This is where I'm looking to take trades. Now, this environment, as we know, has been pretty tough over the previous week and a half, which means I introduced a special filter for the Trade Scanner Pro, which is basically what I call the re-entry filter. I explained it in my previous stream. The re-entry filter is nothing more than waiting for a signal to appear. In this case, I'm looking for long signals to confirm, which means no counter trend mode. And I want to see the signal pop up, but I don't take the trade. I wait for the opportunity to re-enter, meaning the signal pops up, it pulls back or something, and it goes below or above the entry price again. That second time is what I'm looking for. The whole idea behind that is to help reduce the amount of stop losses, because the problem with this market is it's not following through. There's much less momentum than there was a month ago. And in order for the Trade Scanner Pro to be effective, there has to be momentum. If there's no momentum, it will not work. So when there's a low or no momentum environment, you're better off just looking for ranges and trying to trade ranges. The Trade Scanner Pro is not going to really help you with that because it's a pullback tool. It's not a range trade tool. Now, so with that being said, that's how I'm going to use the Trade Scanner Pro, which also tells you that if you're using it, especially on larger time frames, you don't just jump on a signal just because a signal appears. First, that signal needs to be aligned with your analysis. If you haven't done any analysis, then you're just wasting your time. Second, not only does it have to align with the analysis, but it should give you a second entry, right? So we haven't had any signals for some time here. Look at this. If I measure this, how long has it been? It's been about 45 minutes since we've seen any signal, because obviously the market transitioned here. It was acting somewhat bearish, and then we had this bullish move. Okay, no problem. So remember, it's a pullback tool. It's looking for pullbacks. Right now on these time frames, the trend, as per the Trade Scanner Pro, is determined as bullish, right? It says trend is bullish. If you look at the little green thing up here, it says trend is bullish up there. See that? So that's aligned with my idea. On these very small time frames, that little box can change a lot. So you have to be very aware of it. The bigger picture doesn't change so much, but that little smaller picture view of things changes a lot. And you have to make sure that you are aligning with the bigger picture. That's the idea. So if I've determined that my bigger picture is generally bullish, which we have from the 1 hour chart, then I want to make sure I'm looking for longs. So if that thing turns red and says trend is bearish on my small time frame, then that's where I need to make a consideration. Do I want to switch that? Possibly, right? I may want to switch to counter trend mode to stay on the long side, to continue to look for longs. Now, if there's a dramatic break or something like that, and there's a change happening, then it may be best to work on the time frame on the momentum of your smaller time frame. Meaning, let's say, for example, we have this situation, right? You see the support and resistance levels on my chart here that I drew, the lines, right? Let's say price works its way like to like this lower area or like the midpoint and everything says bearish. At that point, I may want to work on the bear side because again, I'm looking for momentum, right? And sometimes when you're in between levels and you're in the middle of nowhere, a lot of times it's just good to revert to whatever the momentum is on your smaller time frame until your smaller picture realigns with the bigger picture. We don't have that happening yet. I'm getting a heads up to go long here. See that? That's what these green columns represent. It's a heads up. That means a bullish signal is likely to appear in the next 3 to 5 candles. That's what heads up means, okay? That's one of the functions on the control panel that I showed. So now, if I get a signal here, this is great. Great location. Look, it's a failed low situation, right? Barely went lower than this low. Okay, I like all that. Remember, I'm not going to jump in on the signal. I want to see the signal appear, and then I want to see a re-entry opportunity. Now, understand that with that filter, I'm going to be facing the possibility that the signal appears and price goes straight to the profit objective and I miss it. That's a possibility. But I don't lose money staying out of the market. So it sucks to watch a trade that you miss and you miss the opportunity, okay? But your account doesn't shrink. It's better than jumping in trying to take every opportunity and losing money all over the place. And then when a good trade comes along, all you're doing is making your money back. So it's better to miss moves and miss a lot of losing trades rather than trying to take all the trades to catch that one winner, which you're only making money back anyway, right? Which is a waste of time. So, all right, so I'm getting some heads up here. I'm getting some heads up on my 1 minute. That's all good to see. By the way, I'm also going to trade one contract. I'm not going to trade two. These are all defensive adjustments that I've made in this environment so that if I'm going to continue to lose money, the loss gets minimized because the environment changed. And you have to make these defensive adjustments to protect the capital. This is more about winning in this game is more about protecting yourself and protecting your capital than any kind of skilled strategy. Because a lot of these strategies are 50% win rates at best because the market's always changing. Right? No one wants to hear that. But that's the reality. And all these fake gurus that say, oh, the one strategy that you need, they know it's a random game. And if they don't know, they're morons. But they know. And they know what they're doing. They're marketers, right? They know what they're doing. And they know what they have to do to sell whatever it is that they're selling. A lot of these guys make money on affiliate links. A lot of money on affiliate links. I don't have any affiliate links. All right? With prop firms. And they'll admit it, some of them will admit it. That's where they make their money, with the affiliate links, not with their trades. So as you could see, I document all the trades from this account. And as you could see, it's very hard. Now, to beat this eval very quickly, there is a better strategy to do it. But that strategy is unsustainable. So you need to understand something about prop firms. If you want to beat the eval, that strategy has to be separate from your payout strategy. It has to be separate because, I can beat this eval in one or two trades. All I have to do is go full size, 10 lots, and make 15 points. That's all I have to do. Of course, in that process, I will blow a number of prop accounts because if it goes 10 points against me or slightly 10 points against me, something like that, I blow the account. And I've been experimenting with that. I blew a number of accounts in minutes. Like I blow one, start a second one, blow the second one, like in minutes apart. That's how fast it is. So, when you're blowing an account, all you're blowing is your evaluation fee. That's the good part about it. I'm not actually blowing $2,500. I'm blowing whatever, $30. I'd rather blow $30 than $2,500. All right, no signal yet. See that? Trade Scanner Pro keeping me out of trouble. So again, if you want to try the Trade Scanner Pro, you see the link up here on my screen. You could try it out for 14 days. I would recommend you take your time with it. Follow my streams if you want to learn how to use it effectively. And hopefully you appreciate it, because I'm looking to make some changes soon, because I'm really not happy with the progress. And once I make some changes, you're going to miss out on all the good stuff. All right. The people that have it, they're not going to miss out on anything. But the people that don't have it, you had your chance. Because I'll tell you, this game stinks as far as just running this, trying to build like some type of business around helping traders. Man, it's a bad business. I'd rather just it's just easier for me to just trade the market by myself without having to worry about doing a stream at any time, without having to worry about producing any content. Right? It's just a lot easier. So, okay, we got a signal on the 1 minute. See that popped up there? That's nice. I'm not going to jump in, because why? I said I'm going to use the reentry filter. So here's the reentry filter. We have a signal. Let this thing do its thing. Now remember, like I said, I may miss a move, may develop, and I may miss it. That's okay, right? We may get like a straight up move like this, and I'm going to miss it because I want reentries. Reentry means we go back below this blue line, we go inside the risk gap, right? This area over here, and then we get some other opportunity to enter. That's when I'm going to enter. That's when I'm going to enter, right? So I'm looking for a reentry. So we're gonna let's see if we mess around the blue line. Like I said, it may just squeeze up, to the profit objective. By the way, it's 2 minutes till 10 o'clock, the 10 o'clock candle. So I don't want to take any trades before 10 o'clock anyway. The 10 o'clock candle may be a negative candle, a vertical candle going the wrong way. So we'll see. See what I mean? This is why I'm waiting and not just jumping into the signal. We'll see how this plays out. Maybe we'll get like a failed low situation in this area, and I'll have an opportunity to enter around here somewhere. Maybe. We'll see. And I'm going to buy one contract if I see that. Now, I'm not sure if we have any scheduled news at 10 o'clock. We might, because I know there are a couple of things. There may be some like ISM number or something. I don't know. There might be. So we'll see. And that news, if there is a news spike, maybe it spikes in my favor. It would have spiked in my favor possibly, but I'm not taking that chance. This market's been too slow and too erratic, and I spent the whole week giving $1,000 back. So that's when you see that, you simply put the brakes on, right? You put the foot on the brakes, and you take defensive measures to slow that process and adjust to the new environment. All right, so let's see how this counted. We had 10 o'clock. All right. Oh, look at that. Good thing I wasn't long. Look at that. Gap. Look at that. I would have been in. Well, here's the situation. If I was long on that signal, if I was long, it would have blown through my stop. And if I had no hard stop in place, I'd have to manually get out now, and I'd take a big loss right there. Good thing I wasn't in it. So that's what I mean. This is why I'm using the reentry method, which is you're not going to learn that in a book, and you're not going to learn that by trial and error trying to figure it out yourself. You're not going to learn that. You're going to learn that by watching me train you. And by the way, these training sessions, someone asked me about private training, like one-on-one, which I don't do very often, but I'm open to doing it. So if anyone's interested in something like that, we could set something up, but it's not going to be cheap. All right, because it has to be worth my time. But I'm open to doing that, so I'll mention it. I don't have any links or anything, so if you're interested, just send me an email or something, and then we could set something up like on Google Meet or whatever, and we can assess where you are and all that, and we can spend an hour on a call refining your strategy, whatever it is. But if you want to learn a lot of stuff for free, just watch my streams, because I put a lot of value into these streams that no one watches. Part of the reason why no one watches these streams is YouTube doesn't promote streams, as I've had to find out the hard way. YouTube doesn't promote streams. So in order to really build a following, I need to do uploads. Look, we got another long signal. All right, so now let's see, again, same technique. Not taking it. Let's see if I get a re-entry situation. Oh, look, I got a long signal on the 30-second as well. Look at that. It's going straight to the stop. This is why we have a filter. This would have been, so if I was just taking this blindly or mindlessly, this would be my second, I'd be looking at a second stop out over here. So far, I've saved myself one stop and possibly a second stop because I have a filter. You see how that works? So yeah. So if you want to learn, or if you know, maybe you want to learn about options. I don't talk about options about much on this channel, but I trade options. I trade SPX options. If you want to learn about stuff like that, again, that would be like a one-on-one. And yeah, just send me an email. You can send me an email at mark@markpmarkets.com or whatever if you're interested in that. I'm not gonna put any links or anything right now. But someone asked me about it. If I get more requests for that, I'll set up like a more formal thing for that. Look, this got stopped out, right? This one looks like it's about to get stopped out too. Maybe not. Maybe this will be our stopped out. Okay, no problem. I'm not in it. Okay, so that's how you filter out these trades in this bad environment. You see what I mean? So 2 stop outs I was able to avoid. So I'm flat. I'm break even. Is it better to lose money or is it better to be zero? I'm at zero, no problem. All right, now I'm still waiting for another entry opportunity. Is this market changing? It might be. It might be. Let's see. Have my trends changed on these smaller time frames? They have. Look, trend is bearish. See that? See that? Trend is bearish. So do I want to look for longs? I may have to switch to counter trend mode because we have a higher low situation over here. Let's do that. Let's take a look over here. Counter trend mode. See, we have a heads up developing. So what I'll do is I'll be in counter trend mode on one, and I'll be in regular mode on the other. I know that's confusing, but that will allow me to at least monitor if there's a counter trend signal, because I would be interested in a long in this area because it's still a pullback. Now, if we continue to break, if we break this low over here, what is that? 21,681. If we break that, then it may be worth it just to start looking for shorts. And on my 30-second right now, since it says trend is bearish and I'm in regular mode on the Trade Scanner Pro, it's looking for shorts, while my counter trend chart is looking for longs. I'm still open. I'll still be open to one more long. We'll see what that looks like. Okay. Well, Grego, no, it wasn't. It wasn't coincidence, Grego, because I have a filter. So I had a routine way to stay out of that trouble. That's I had a filter. My filter is I don't jump in on the signal. I wait for a reentry. That technique so far saved me from getting stopped out 2 times. So that's not coincidence. I have a filter. And that's what the filter was for, is to help me avoid situations like this in a way that doesn't require me to think. I had no idea that news was going to come out like that. So how can I avoid something like that? Well, the filter, that was the whole purpose of the filter. Again, not going to learn that anywhere. You're only going to learn that by watching me. You're not going to figure that out on your own. So look, now this thing is calling for a possible long, right? Because I'm in counter trend mode over here. See that? So again, same thing. If I see a signal, I will just wait for a reentry. And if I get the reentry, great. Now, look, if I get no signal and this market wants to sell off, okay, no problem. I'll stop looking for counter trend. I'll stop looking for longs. And on my 30-second, this thing is set up for sure. Look, we're breaking this low. Okay, no problem. So I will switch back here. I'm going to go back into trend mode. No need for counter trend mode. Let's take a look at the hourly chart. what's happening here on the hourly. So on the hourly, look what's happening. So remember when we first looked at the hourly, when I first started the stream, it was bullish. We determined it was bullish, right? Remember that? And I said we had resistance, but it was sort of a pin bar, remember? And he said, but if it closes how it closes, blah, blah, blah. Look at this. This doesn't look so bullish anymore, does it? We have a double top situation. We have a failed high, basically, off of a resistance, right? Now it's an established failed high. We are now testing this higher low support area. So we have a possible support here, but we're coming from a failed high. This could be a consolidation. All right, so I will be open to a long once more. I'm going to be open to a long. So I'm turning counter trend mode back on because I'm open to a long. I'm not going to switch to short just yet because look at the location. We're near a support. So it's very possible we can bounce here, right? A significant bounce. Now, so this is going to be my line. If we break below this area right here, what is that? It's basically 650. If we blow below 650 and we can't find support there, then I'm done with longs. Okay? I will not take any longs. I will then lean to the short side. Right now this thing is looking pretty weak, right? It's looking like a short, but I'm not going to jump in now. I'm not going to chase it. So with that, looks like it's going to keep going. All right. So I have a number in mind, okay? 650. We're basically blowing through that right now. I guess that news came out. That news, whatever that news was, I think there was some kind of ISM manufacturing news or something. That must have set the tone for the market there. All right, let's see if we find support here at this line, right, the 650 area. Let's see. If I get the signal on the 1 minute, if I get the long signal, because I'm still in counter trend mode there. So understand I'm monitoring 2 time frames and I'm monitoring 2 modes. I have counter trend on one chart and I have trend on the other chart. I'm still open to the location for a long, but like I said, if the signal appears, I'm going to wait for a re-entry. I'm not going to just jump in on the signal. I have to keep repeating that. By the way, that technique is even more effective on larger time frames. So if you're using the Trade Scanner Pro, like on a 15-minute chart or a 30-minute chart, how often do you come across a signal that you missed? It may have shown up like an hour ago, but you just come across it now. It aligns with your analysis. You're like, I missed the entry, but it's fluctuating between the entry price and it goes like to the middle of the risk gap or whatever. There may be other entry opportunities for that trade, right? If you use something like what I'm showing you here, the reentry filter. So look, we're going to get a signal here probably in the next candle. See this? Because we got a lot of heads up, nice bounce off the support. Okay, so I'm still open to the long idea. That's why I'm in counter trend mode. Now, remember, there's a signal, okay? There's a signal. Now, I'm not going to jump into that. I'm going to wait for a reentry possibility. Let's see if we get it. I may not get it. This may go vertical, and it may run away without me. Remember, that's a possibility. If it runs away without me, that's okay. I don't lose money if it runs away. So far, this technique has saved me from 2 stopouts, right? So that's what I'm in this environment. That's what I'm interested in. So what I want to see here is this is a nice candle. I'm not going to chase it. What I want to see is a re-entry into this area. We may not get it, but let's see. It may go straight to the profit objective. Again, that's going to happen. That's going to happen. So let's see what we get here. But nice. So again, at least I knew not to chase this thing as a short into the support because there was a probability that this thing was going to bounce. There's our bounce. Right? This is why, again, you have to pay attention to the bigger picture levels. You have to know where you are because that short looked pretty bad there. And if you react to that, you get caught on the wrong side of this. So the bigger picture, while it was trying to change, it bounced right off of 650. It bounced right off of it. Look at that. That was a major bounce, too. That was over 70 points. All right, no problem. So now what I want to see is a pullback into the reentry, into the blue line over here. See that? That's the reentry filter. We retest the entry price, or maybe we go back below the entry price, and we get some kind of long signal there, some kind of long bullish candle, I'll go long there. That's the reentry filter. You guys clear on that? You guys understand? So this is an interesting lesson here because the market's like all over the place, and I'm showing you how the Trade Scanner Pro helps me navigate this mess without thinking I know more than the market, without thinking, oh, I see this, oh, I see that, right? This thing gives me a structure to work with. See, look, maybe we pull back and we retouch the blue line. Maybe we don't. But if we do, that's a possible opportunity. If we don't, then there's nothing for me to do. And if I have to sit here for an hour and have no trades, I'd rather have that than lose $200. Imagine over the previous week where I gave $1,000 back. Imagine if I had no signals on those days. I'd still be up that $1,000, right? But instead, I gave it back. So I'd rather be at zero, and I'd rather sit here for an hour and lose nothing and just observe than take trades and try to pretend I'm cool. So let's see if the market gives us that reentry opportunity. Like I said, there'll be times when it just goes without us, okay, but there's going to be plenty of times when it retests. And that's the nature of this environment. It's a lower momentum environment. The environment's not always going to be like this. That's why we have to make these adjustments. You know, back in April, when the market was wild, when you'd get a signal, it would just go. It would just run, right? Because it was a higher momentum environment. Volume was typically higher. I always tell people we're no longer in May, we're now in June. And May, June, July, August is when volume declines. If volume declines, momentum gets smaller. And we've seen a massive change in the size of these 1 minute candles, right? The typical candle, what's the low to this high? 684 to 730. So what is that? That's about 30 points maybe, right? That's like a good candle. Your typical candle is not 30 points. Your typical candle, if you basically look at the average true range, your typical candle is probably more like 15 points or something like that, maybe less. Where your typical candle back in April was much bigger. That means something. So if we're in a slower momentum environment, that means you're going to see less follow through. That means you'll see spurts of big moves, but they're going to be a lot less frequent. You're going to see a lot more noise. So you have to adjust to that. And using a tool like the Trade Scanner Pro, I'm showing you how to adjust. So let's see if we get that reentry. I want to see a retest of the blue line. If we stay up in this little consolidation over here, well, it's not a bad idea to take that as a long if you break out of this little consolidation. I mean, that would be a possibility. But here's the problem. What I don't like about this, like if I take a breakout of that right there as a long, I'm going to tell you what the problem is. The problem is my risk. I'm risking all of this. 65 points about. If I take this right now, I'm risking 65 points to make only 31 points. That stinks. That's not worth it. It's not worth the risk. Now, maybe it goes beyond the profit objective. It's possible. It's a possibility. But in this lousy environment, I shouldn't bet on things like that. It's a lower probability. A lot of times this thing tries to get going just like this, sucks you in, and then it pulls back, right? And then that's when the real opportunity appears. So I'd rather wait for that. So as good as this looks, look, we could do it in theory, right? So let's say in theory, I'm long from 720 in theory. So I'm not really long. All right, we're just saying in theory I'm long, right? So from 720. So let's see if it goes to the profit objective of 750. That's only 30 points. Which, okay, look, it's better than nothing, but it's not worth my risk. That's what you have to pay attention to in these situations. My risk is too high because if this thing pulls back and I'm going to give it to the stop, it's not worth it. You're better off losing 10 points to make 30 than losing 60 points to make 30. Right? Does that make sense? Oh, look at this. I got a short signal on my 30-second chart. So I have so I'm trying to work this long signal on the 1 minute because I'm in counter trend mode. My 30-second just gave me a short signal because the trend on this time frame, the momentum on the 30-second is bearish. That's confusing, right? As a beginner, what I would tell you is you have to pick the side that you're working on, right? I'm trying to work on the long side, so I must ignore this short signal. I must ignore this. So I can turn it off, right? That's the best way to ignore it. If you find that confusing, just turn it off because you're going to be like, well, what do I do? Remember, your analysis carries all the weight. The signal is just there to confirm it. So if you see a conflicting signal like this, it doesn't mean anything because these signals can appear randomly. You have to understand that. Now, if we were aligned with the short side, then okay, I'd be paying attention to this. And if it works out or whatever, all we're doing is look, we're just pulling back to the entry price on the 1 minute. So I focus on the 1 minute, right? I turn off that signal because I don't want to be confused. I don't want you to be confused. I'm interested on the long side. Why? Because this market hasn't proven to be a short just yet. It looks like it might turn into a short, but it's not yet. It's not proven yet. We need to clear this support, which the market has proven that there's a buyer there. There's someone buying there. Because I mean, look, that's a pretty sharp move off of that support. And that support, that move could have been somewhat anticipated. At least I could have said, I'm not going to short into that support. That's a heavy duty support level. 650 was a level. All right, because it was relative to the overnight low. So you could have known in advance not to get involved there. But people who follow their RSI and the fake gurus and all that, they short the breakout and then they get stuck. So that's why I'm saying the general idea hasn't changed yet. Don't get fooled by these moves. Now, I still don't have an entry on my 1 minute. Looked like we're almost going to get one, but you just have to be patient with this. So all we're doing is fluctuating inside of this area right here. Remember I said that breakout? Remember that breakout? Sucks you in, right? This breakout over here. Good thing I stayed away from that idea because why? I would have bought it up here at whatever, what was that number I said? 650, I think I said. No, I think I said 620, 720, I think I said. I forget the number I said. But it would have went to 696 on me. Right? That could have easily stopped me out. If I was, especially since I would be taking trades inside of the suggested orders, which when you take trades like inside the suggested orders, it could be a little more confusing, right? Because again, if I bought it up here, like I was saying, let's just say in theory, I'm long from up here. Where do I get out? If I'm going to use this as my stop, which that's my reference for my stop, then I'm risking 60 points. Or if I see a bad candle, I can get out sooner, but I would have blown like 30 points right there or something like that, right? So, all right, look, the market wants to work its way higher. Okay, no problem. This is why I said the short signal over here was meaningless. That probably would have stopped out over here. All right, so do you see how this market's constantly changing? I'm still waiting for a long entry. Maybe we get a failed high over here. Some people, again, they would take this as a breakout right here. I wouldn't, because my risk is defined over here. That's what I like. That's one thing that's nice about the Trade Scanner Pro for beginners. So when I trade on my own, I know where my risk is. And this tool, when we had this tool developed, it was to help quantify the risk for you, so you have a much better idea of where the risk is. That's where the risk is. Okay, that's how you quantify your risk. That's a very important tool that a lot of people just don't appreciate. Everyone just wants to buy their Ferrari tomorrow, which those people, all those people are doing, they want to buy the Ferrari, but all they're doing is helping their fake guru that they follow buy the Ferrari. That's all they're doing. Or they're helping these prop firms because they don't understand what they're doing with a prop firm. It's hard to beat a prop firm. And again, you have to have very unique strategies. By the way, if you if you do the separate strategy idea, like I was talking about, where you have one strategy to beat and then one strategy for payouts, if you don't have a sustainable strategy, you're wasting your time beating a prop firm to begin with and money. Because when you beat a prop firm, that's just the beginning. You have to pay a setup fee, which is usually about $140. After you paid a bunch of fees to beat the prop firm, now you pay another $140. If you don't have a sustainable strategy, you're just fooling. You're just going to blow that account. You're going to have to start all over again anyway, right? So you have to have a sustainable strategy. That is what I'm showing you here, by the way. This is the sustainable strategy. You can have an unsustainable strategy to beat the prop firm. And in fact, most of the time, in my opinion, that's exactly what you need is an unsustainable strategy, because you need to be able to beat the prop firm quickly. The only way to do that is with size, taking advantage of the size that they give you. That's the only way. So if you're going to play the size game, it basically becomes like a coin flip. So in that process, you have to be prepared to blow through a number of accounts. You're going to blow accounts like minute by minute. You're going to blow an account, blow an account, blow an account. That's what it's going to be like. So, oh, I can't do that. Then, there is an upfront cost playing the prop firm game. It's going to cost you some money. It's like sitting at a poker table. It's going to cost you some money to sit at a poker table. You're not going to sit there for free. So, if you can't handle that, then I don't know what to tell you. You're in the wrong game. And there are better games than this, by the way. This is why fake gurus usually get into other businesses, because they can't even make money as a trader. Most of them don't make money as traders. They lie about it. And they have like fake withdrawals, and they have all kinds of fake things to make it look like they're a successful trader. They don't make money. Most of them don't make money. So that's just a harsh reality. They sell dreams, they sell the glamour, they sell the lifestyle, and that's all they sell. And they make a lot of money doing exactly that, selling dreams. That's why you put the Ferrari behind you. If I had a Ferrari behind me, I would probably be doing much better as far as business wise. So because as old as that trick is, it still works. People still believe in that nonsense. It's just human nature. So, anyway, all right, enough ranting today. How am I doing with my numbers? Let me see. Let me see. Well, a little better on Twitter. YouTube, I should just stop streaming on YouTube. YouTube is just a complete waste of my time. They don't promote. I was watching yesterday, I was looking at some other streams. They have everyone else's stream on the suggested list, but not mine. So no, I know what my YouTube problem is. I know what my problem is. I really should. You know what I should do is I should stop doing these streams. I should instead use this time to produce upload content, and then do that for a while, then build the following, and then come back to the streams. That's what I should do. So, but I'm trying to document this process, so we'll see how this goes. All right, so there's nothing for me to do here. I'm not going to take the trade now. This doesn't fit the re-entry filter criteria. We have to pull back to the blue line, right? The market's not giving me that. So far, if I had taken this trade at the blue line, I'd be up something. Let's see. That was at 686. Where are we at right now? 717. So I'd be up what? About 30 points on one contract, something like that, about $60. That's where I'd be right now if I had taken that trade and held on to it. But it's not giving me a re-entry opportunity. Let's see what's going on over here. This short trade is still active, interestingly enough. Let's see. Let's see if I turn counter trend mode on. Let's see. Is there anything there? No, there's no long trade. And this thing is back. This thing is back in bullish mode. Okay. So I want to turn counter trend off. And this short trade is not relevant because I'm not looking for shorts. Like I said, the Trade Scanner Pro doesn't carry the weight. The Trade Scanner Pro simply helps to simplify decisions. That's all it does. It helps to simplify decisions. Now, looks like this trade is still, we've been here before. Maybe we break higher on this one. But like I said, I'm not taking any trades now. I never got a reentry opportunity. The trailing stop has advanced. So, I mean, a situation like this, I could use the trailing stop as my reference for risk. But look, we're right at the profit objective. I'm going to buy this thing now, going right into the profit objective. That would be unwise. So, all right, this is one of those trades that would have just happened to have worked out if I took it at the entry price. But in this environment, these trades are a lot less common. So just because one trade works out doesn't mean, oh yeah, okay, I have to do this every time. You have to look at the general behavior across many trades. And the general behavior across many trades has been it pulls back inside, back into the blue line and gives reentry opportunities. That's been the general behavior in this environment. Now maybe if the environment gets much better and starts to improve, then maybe it becomes worthwhile to take these trades at the entry price again. But until I see that more frequent, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use the filter because so far, this filter saved me from 2 stop outs. If I had taken all 3 trades and then this one's the winner, all I'm doing is making the money back, right? And I may still even be negative because the first trade, what was the first? I think this was the first trade over here. No, I don't have the. I'm in counter. I'd have to go back into trend mode to see them. But let's just say if my average risk, what is my risk on this one? 43 points. So let's say 43 points, right? And the second trade, I would have gotten caught in that news. So let's say I lost more than 43 points. So let's say the first trade I got stopped out for 43 points. The second trade, let's say I lost 60 points. That's 100 points, right? 100 points, that would be a $200 loss on one contract, on one micro lot. That would be a $200 loss. Let's just say I took those trades and then I took this trade here and this was my winner, right? Would I have made my $200 back? Let's see. 64 trades. No, 64 points. I would have made $120 back. So I'd still be minus like $80. Even though I had my one winning trade, those 2 losing trades would have cost me $200 if I had assuming we only had one micro lot on each trade. So this trade only would have made me some money back. I'd still be negative. So the filter is still better because I'm at 0. I'm not at minus 80. I'm at 0. 0 is better than minus 80. I think we can all agree. So no problem. And I've been watching this market for an hour. Going back, this trade, the only way I could have really, this would have had, if I was going to enter at the blue line, at the entry price, that would have just been an aggressive long. And the only way I could have justified that was I could have said, well, we're bouncing off the support, right? And that trade occurred like around here somewhere. So there was a notable support there. That's the only way I could have justified that, but that would have been an aggressive trade. That wouldn't have been conservative. In this environment, it's hard to justify aggressive trades because we're not getting follow through most of the time. So like I said, we're going to miss some moves here and there, but it's more profitable to miss the moves than it is to try to catch every move. And this demonstrates that because I'm at 0 and that's not profit, but it's better than negative because I was able to avoid a losing situation simply by following that filter. And on Monday, I was able to, following that filter, I was able to make my money back because my initial trade, I think I had 2 trades, whatever, they were losing trades, or my one trade was a losing trade. And then the second trade I made the money back. Again, that was a result of using the filter. So you have to look at trades over numerous trades. You can't look at one trade in isolation. You can't do that. You can't look at one trade and be like, oh, okay, that's the way to go now. You can't do that. So you have to understand like the general behavior, and it has to do with the market, right? The market personality or the kind of market we're in right now. So look, we touched the profit objective. Great. I'm not in it, so it doesn't matter. The only way this would have been worthwhile is if I took two contracts or if it turns into a runner where it really starts going and goes beyond the profit objective. But in this environment, I wouldn't really be too expectant of that because we're not getting those big follow through moves. All right, so I'm going to be wrapping this up here in a few minutes. Remember, Friday is non-farm payrolls at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. So volume may get more erratic going into that, something to be aware of. Also, on Friday, guys, anyone still there? I want to make sure you guys are paying attention. Can someone say hello in the chat? Let me know if you're there because Friday I'm not going to stream on Friday. At this time, I am not going to stream. I'll repeat that. I am not going to stream at this time at 9:30 on Friday because I have a conference I have to go to. So I will be at a conference all day. Hey, Gray, how are you? On Friday, I will be at a conference. It's some kind of AI market like financial applications for AI, something or other in the city. So that's an all day event. So I will be there all day, which means I will not be streaming. Hey, Voin, how are you? All right, good to see you guys. So I will not be streaming on Friday at this time. We will continue on Monday. We will continue on Monday. Just so you guys know. All right, so this thing went to the profit objective, like I said. So this whole session, I sat here, and all I have done is adjust. No trades. I missed two stop outs, and this third trade, if I had taken it from the entry price, if I had taken it, it would have been a break. Well, actually, no, I'd still be minus $80. If I had taken this trade, I'd be minus $80. Okay, hey, good to see you. All right, nice to see you too. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello. I like to see that. All right. So now notice we're getting these red columns here on the 1 minute chart. That's a heads up on the counter trend mode because remember the trend mode has changed on the 1 minute chart. So now I need to turn counter trend off. And the trade goes away because the original trade, this was a counter trend trade because at the time the momentum on this time frame was bearish, right? So in order to get a bullish trade, I had to be in counter trend mode. I know that is confusing, but that's why you need to watch these streams to learn how to use this tool effectively. You're not going to figure that out on your own. In fact, I even thought about taking counter trend away because it's confusing for a lot of people. I tell beginners, don't even use counter trend. Don't even use it. You're better off just let the trend realign and wait for signals on the new trend. Yeah, it's going to require some more waiting around, and you're not going to catch reversals like this because that's what counter trend is meant for, capturing those reversals. Because when a reversal is happening, usually it's reversing the previous momentum, which is still usually in play because the tools that we use to measure the momentum are backward looking. There's no way to look forward, right? That's why that happens. So the level is the only thing that can really help you anticipate some kind of change like this. And in order to get a confirmation at such a level, you need to do counter trend mode. So I always tell people that's for more advanced traders because if you don't understand these concepts, you're not going to get anywhere with it. You're just going to be confused and you're just going to lose money. So look, we're now at this resistance. See that? We're rejecting the resistance a bit. So in this situation, I mean, do I want to go short here? No, because remember, we determined earlier that we want to work on the long side. That hasn't changed. It almost changed, but it hasn't changed. So let's see what you say over here. A subscriber list is not working. What subscriber list are you talking about? Are you talking about for the free signals? Is that the subscriber list you're referring to? Because I turned it off. That's why it's not working. I'm not taking new subscribers on the free list. I should probably remove that link. Is that the list? Is that what you're referring to? Because the 1 day signals that for people that are on the list, great, they get the list. Or you could go into the community and there's in the channels there, the signals appear there. But I'm not doing those emails anymore. I'm not doing that. So I should probably remove the link. But I'm not sure what subscriber list you're referring to. All right. So anyway, so like I said, this is not a short, right? Our analysis earlier, we determined it was a long. In fact, let's just take a quick look and update where we are from earlier. So look, earlier when we started the stream, we talked about being long, right? It was this green candle over here. We tested the support and we never broke it. So this never turned into a short, although it looked like it was turning into one. This market is still not bearish. So at this moment, I would still be looking for longs. Nothing has changed. You see that? But all this movement makes it looks like all this action took place. Nothing has changed. So that's what I mean. You have to stay aligned with the bigger picture. So back to my 30-second chart over here. 30 seconds. I went over here. Right? I'm still looking for longs. So the Trade Scanner Pro here is my trend bullish still. Yeah, so it should be giving me, it should be popping up long signals, right? Because counter trend is off and trend is bullish. Again, you have to keep a very close eye on this. It says trend is bullish. This changes a lot on the small time frames. So if that switches back, see, trend is bearish. It just changed. See that? So if I want longs, I got to go back to counter trend mode. See that? Otherwise, I'm not going to get longs. And also, if you notice that short from earlier, look, it almost got stopped out, but the short is still in play. See that? That's also very confusing. That trade has to close in order for a long to appear. So I'm going to turn that off because that could be very confusing. Okay, yeah, Rajesh. Yeah, sorry, I'm not taking new subscribers on those lists. I'm not taking new subscribers. So the list is essentially, it's full. All right. So I've been at this an hour. We've had no trades. But the good news is I was able to avoid 2 stop outs. And if I had taken this one good trade that appeared over here, I'd still would be minus $80. That would be the reality of it, right? But I was able to avoid the entire thing because of my filtering method. So if you want to refamiliarize yourself with the filtering method, just go back and watch Monday's stream. That's where I introduced it. And I talked about it here at the beginning of the stream as well. It's just, all I'm doing is I'm looking at the Trade Scanner Pro signals and I'm waiting for a re-entry. That's all I'm doing. Okay. I think I need to be in counter trend mode here. Oh, there's a short signal there. Again, I'm not interested in shorts. I'm not interested in shorts. So I turn that off. I don't want shorts until the bigger picture aligns with it, until my analysis aligns with shorts. Don't take a signal for the sake of taking a signal. It has to align. Right? So I'd be looking for longs. Anyway, but so the outcome today, even though I'm flat, it's better than minus 80 because that would have been the alternative. Minus 80 or flat. My filtering method allowed me to avoid a minus $80 day. All right, so my P&L hasn't moved today. I'm still at the same number. All right, no problem. I'll take that. All right, everyone, so I'll leave you with that. So remember, Friday I have the conference. We will continue on Monday. Friday is also non-farm payrolls, so just be aware of that at 8:30. That can set the tone for the day. You want to see how that plays out first before doing anything else. All right, everyone. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. All right, mark at markbmarkets.com. And you can send me an email there. Otherwise, check out the Trade Scanner Pro. You can try it out for 14 days for free. Make sure you cancel before the 14 days if you want to try it out. Otherwise, you're going to get billed, and I have there's a no refund policy. All right. So enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of the evening, wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much for watching.